Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this edition of the Tuesday Telecast. So today I am going to talk to Elona Lopari, who is the CEO and founder of the Life School and an immigrant to the United States. So she has done a great amount of moving from starting the American dream and going to a place of being on her own path. And so I invited her to talk on this show about that. She's now talking to people about creating an impact on society and serving in a purpose-driven life. So without further ado, I would like to go and bring Elona into the house. Hello, Elona, and welcome to the Tuesday Telecast at the Joyful Path.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. So, you are the founder of the Life School, and one doesn't do something like start a life school without having some life before that. So, what was your background like before you started this, and what made you change your path to this one that's more in line with your soul?
Yeah, no, I love that you mentioned the life experience piece because obviously day one, when we're born, we start gathering, our life experience. I like some people talk about it like an open book. Every day there's a new page and, chapters are always unraveling in our life experiences, our journeys, our challenges, stories, all the things that we get to be blessed to be able to do here on earth. So yeah, I think I will start with natively from Albania. Moved to New York when I was 15. And very early on, my early experiences with kind of, navigating and helping my parents kind of adapt to the new country. I was translating for them and all of that. I've seen a lot of struggle, a lot of, those beginning jobs, and they didn't speak the language. And I grew up very fast. I was the oldest child, and a lot of responsibility, I guess, on my shoulder. I started working early so that I can be able to contribute and help my family because they needed it. Which, in the retrospect, with what I do today, it really shaped my character very early on to problem solve. Right at that point, I was problem solving for the family, and today I problem solve, for other people that I get to serve and help. So and then, just moving through my life journey, my parents very early dictated, the role modeling of the American dream, meaning, okay, we come here, so obviously work hard, be successful in your career, and, have a healthy family and 2.5 kids and a dog and a yard and a white picket fence home and all of that. So I did all that. I climbed the corporate ladder, graduated with business management and finance degree without questioning any of it. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I have to do to feel happy and successful. And that's what I did. So I worked for a corporation for 13 years in the retail space, Fortune 500, in different roles. I was actually very blessed to be there at that time because it was always, the corporation was in growth mode. So that meant that I was always learning and growing, and I kept getting promoted every couple of years. So I did many different roles for them, like HR, marketing, sales. My latest one was executive leadership. However, just like any journey, there was something that changed, which is the corporation was bought by another corporation, and the culture turned very profit driven. I no longer saw a future. So I started looking out for pretty much the next step in my journey that was going to help me kind of figure out what else I wanted to do. And early on, I realized that contributing towards others and learning and growing was something that really made me very happy, because a lot of the success on the external was not really what was doing it for me. Because I'm like, well, that's it. I already achieved all the things that they told me that you live happily ever after. But my soul is still craving for growth, for more, to be able to contribute to people and do all of that. So that's how entrepreneurship showed up for me. So fast forward, got exposed to the personal development world, became a lifelong learner, lifelong explorer of myself and figuring out, where I needed to stay and position myself and what my gifts were and what was attractive to me and all of that. So I've been now an entrepreneur for 5 years, and through all the learnings that I've done in my experience, I really feel that my vocation or purpose in the world now is to help other people like me that have discovered their purpose, but they want to align that with profit so they can do more good in the world. And then through a lot of experience with business and growing my own, I realized that the 7 pillars that every business needs to grow, it's always the branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team. So that's kind of what I do today with either the entrepreneurs that I help or the corporations that I've gone back home in a way to help. But now it's on my own terms because they're all purpose driven. They just need the help with aligning their profits towards that purpose. And thank God we live in this world today. We're all more conscious leaders. So we understand how putting purpose first absolutely fuels your profits as well. So that's kind of the day-to-day work that I do now. And so far, thus far, I feel really strong about this mission and passion and purpose that I have clarified and aligned with.
Wow, you have brought up so many things. One, a sense of responsibility when, or whatever it is that we're born with or that we're put into the environment of. We have this either a passion, if that's what has been promoted, but sometimes it's the passion of someone else or the passion of a society, and we we do things that are fine, they're good things, but when we realize what our soul needs, we start to prioritize other things, and if not, we go along unfulfilled and living perhaps what is the American dream, but losing sight of what the money and what the progress is supposed to lead to, which is our fulfillment and our contentment. And instead we go just at first for, this is what I'm supposed to do, and there's that sense of responsibility toward being part of our family. It's not the same for everyone, but that's definitely something that I relate to, and that I hear in what you're saying, and how it really affects the road that we go down. And then we say, oh, there's something else I need to learn, and we identify that often for ourselves. So
Yeah.
love
And
things.
that's what I learned too, Lydia, that it's not supposed to be the same for everyone because we all come to this earth for a unique, purpose, right? And that's what I did for the longest, ignored my inner voice, which kept, telling me for the longest that I needed to go in a different direction, explore what it was longing for, because we're not, we're not trained or we're not taught how to be able to access that inner intelligence that we all have inside of us. But yeah, I think it's that's the beauty of us being who we are, that our journey is unique. And of course, we have common experiences because we all are humans and we all are here, on this earth and universe. But um, that's exactly where the work is. So that, you unravel and you connect your own dots in your journey, and pay attention to the things that speak to you, because if there's a reason why you get those insights that we get. But sometimes if we have a lot of those other things blocking us, it's almost like we're blind to be able to follow it because we don't know, how to even read it or take inspired action towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. We seem to be born with a lot of wisdom, but then we forget it very, very quickly. And if we not only do we have some of that hidden from us, but we also just don't have a lot of in society now, a lot of um direction in how to access our heart energy and our gut energy, and how when you follow your gut, you follow your intuition, it's actually very, very wise. And then we seem to grow to get to that place later, and thank goodness we do. And as you said, not only is there a lot of leadership now that is more purpose driven and conscious, but there's also more consciousness of how to foster that as we grow. So I love that. what I also love is that you brought up the purpose and the passion. And so, for a lot of people, they let that passion go for something that is, they said, that's not for me. I'm not a, and we'll even subdue it and sweep it under the rug instead of realizing that actually it's not selfish, and it's exactly what the world needs. What we are passionate about is what the world needs. Would you relate to that statement?
Absolutely. I think one of I guess a little bit of the work that I have done, well, a lot of the work that I've done, I guess, internally is really the attachment between the achievement piece, right? I was praised very early to be able to, be a high achiever. And even my life journey led me to that way because just like I say, I will share my experience. I gained respect in my family because obviously I was the oldest and I was problem solving, and I got good at that because that helped me grow my confidence. But deep down, I didn't always feel the worth around, the my own self-worth. So I cope with it just by achieving. I said, okay, well, if I just achieve, this is how, I will get value in the world from my family, the people that loved me at the time, and what was surrounding me around my most intimate, or I guess loving relationships, whether it was family or my husband or kids, or my extended family at that time, or even people that I was working with. So I realized that a lot of that came to me in form of conflicts, and that's actually why I didn't really feel happy about the work that I was doing, or even the achievements that I was just kind of ordering or gathering, because I'm like, well, this is never going to end, because then once I get one goal met, then I'm just going to go for the next, and then it's like almost like an addict chasing something that at the end of the day, I was never really ever sitting with it to figure out why I was on the cycle of achievement, and how that was really a replacement for a lot of the self-worth that I need to do the work with. But yeah, I think it's very powerful. For the longest, I also had the fear of success, because exactly what you just shared, that I'm like, I used to hear these insights, and the more you understand how to hear, get the insights in your personal life, the more then it's almost like, okay, now you got to obey, because those are your insights. And the fear of like, am I capable of doing this? Whoa, this seems too big for me to be able to chase after a whole mission. When you talk about these big words, they're scary, because it's like, I don't know if I'm just one person. Like, I had a lot of those stories and limitations. So yeah, I absolutely can relate to that. And now I find that at every new goal that I set, or every new level that I go into, there's always new things that are going to show up. And I've just become a student and very insightful, or kind of attentive around some of these things, so that I can, work through those to be able to happily achieve and be fulfilled, not just achieve for the wrong reason. So that's been a little bit of my experience around those two main pain points, or I guess common points that you asked me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there's a place where we are more happy as lifelong learners. You mentioned lifelong learners. It just But there's also a place where people stop learning because they think that either they need to retire and that they don't have to do anymore, or that there's just that fear of, oh, the unknown. But as we learn, have you found that that has made you actually more content, more happy?
Yes, because it's the progression of I'm learning something new, and I'm always curious, and there's variety in my life. And then once I learn, then I'm able to make better decisions in my life. So I'm able to implement that insight that I got from a book, or whatever else we're consuming, to be able to fill the gaps between our knowledge, skills, experience, expertise, based on whatever area that attracts us. So we're trying to improve in our life as a whole. It doesn't just have to be business. So that's kind of the process that I've kind of gone, I guess, in a healthy addiction with, because I mean, our brain is just, I'm also a student in neuroscience, right? It's a muscle. It's always learning and growing, and it needs to, we train it, right, to be able to feed our brain with the right things that are going to keep us happy and fulfilled. So if you
Mm,
don't, unfortunately, we can go back to those survival fear modes and kind of just, finding negative things to kind of linger on, or we need something to do. We need the brain needs a purpose, right? And the brain is supposed
right.
be creative. It's supposed to get new information, right? So it's just like any muscle. If we leave it there, it's just going to stay stale, and we're going to stay in the same spot, obviously, because the action we take is really connected to the knowledge that we have. Because unless we have that knowledge to be able to take that inspired action, then how do we know what is the right next step in whatever area? So it's like almost so like all of this is all connected. And if you don't keep, learning and growing, you're going to get stuck at a certain point, because that's just so much that you've learned at that phase and stage of life. Sometimes there's that saying about, oh, I wish I knew, in my past, if I knew, like, all the things I know now, I would have done different things. So this is exactly what it is, right? And we can forgive that. And I always say at that point, at that point in time, that was my awareness level, that was my knowledge level, that was my skills level. So I
Right.
did the best that I could, because I think we'll always try to do the best as human beings, but you just
Absolutely.
stay at that. So in order to evolve, you always got to grow in your knowledge and skills, and your inspired action that you're always taking.
Mm, absolutely. When we have a part of us too that is especially um forward in our personality, such as you mentioned achievement, and it's a blessing. Like, it's a blessing to have something in us that promotes that achievement. If we're going to actually have a purpose in the world, achieving it is a beautiful thing. But then we also can go back to that area of overachieving in order to make up for something. And these are things that helped us to survive when we were young. There's nothing wrong with them. They're taking something that is an abundance in us and just overusing it and abusing it. You mentioned that the brain is a muscle, and like any part of us, people say, oh, I'm getting old, this is happening because I'm getting old. And yes, things do exist for longer, and age is a thing, but I don't believe that anything really happens from getting old. It happens from how we have used those muscles, including our brain and the different parts of our body. And if we're letting something, if we're not using something, it will atrophy. Any muscle in the body will do that. Any part, it will not be strong and active. It will atrophy. And that's not age as much as it's just taking a long time with that thing, just spending no time being used. And if we use something in a balanced and healthy way, we actually stay really healthy and really viable, and we progress. If we overuse something, like suddenly just beat the heck out of something, then it often gets injured, and we'll get, we'll have troubles. But the brain is really super resilient. If we stay in one place and do the same thing all the time, it will get that sort of overused in that way, and atrophying in other ways. But go forth and do that lifelong learning thing. I love how you talked about that as a muscle, because it's so true. I mean, there's a lot of nerve conduction, as you also alluded to, but it is that's an easy way to understand it for people.
Yeah, and I almost like to detach things, because for me that's how I simplify complex ideas. But yeah, it's two different things. Our physical body, right? There's ways to nurture our physical body, right, with the aging process. And then our brain is that muscle that we can nurture through, feeding it with healthy, positive things and learning and growing around areas that we care about and developing skills. But yeah, there's nothing, it has nothing to do with age. The more that you train that muscle in your brain, every year that goes by, you just gain more wisdom and experience, and you're just able to share that with more people, right? That's why I look up to, usually I'm always attracted, towards like older individuals that have like life experience, because to me it's like, well, you've lived through some things, like what can you share with me, right? So I think that's kind of how it works. And then, detach that from the healthy aging that our physical body will go through. And that could, of course, be maintained as well today, right? With all the information that we have. So I almost see it as two different things. And, it was helped me kind of also unravel or heal a lot of some of the stories around, some of the self-talk around, aging and other things that are happening that were not really healthy or serving me. So that's one. And then the other one, I love that you also, have the music piece in your journey. And also that's something that we connected on together, but it's also developing our passions, right? No matter how old we are, because I've realized that inside of us, there's like unlimited potential of things that we can develop, whether it's something we're born with or something that we just find interesting or insightful, or we get attracted to. I always say, let's pay attention to things that you get attracted to. Like for me, I've been able to explore music much more with the work that I do as well, because I've always get attracted to the emotional connection that music adds to words and how that actually affects us. I always find like it's the therapy of the soul. So just that's another example of things that are inside of us, or creative outlets that we have inside of us, that we don't always have to align profit around them, but as much as we, the more we understand how those add value to us in our lives and that purpose piece, the more than we are fulfilled, that we're feeding, we're nurturing our soul or our mind or our physical body in ways that that matter to us. And I would say that pay attention to that and develop those passions, because just life just becomes more beautiful, and there's just so much more way. It just helps you become a holistic like individual, and you have so much more awareness around all the different areas, and you're not just one-sided, one single-minded person, just studying one particular area in life. That's why I love the name the School of Life, because the School of Life, it's all the all the areas of our lives that really add up to the core of the individual. And my logo is a tree, because I think the more we, the trunk of the tree is the individual, and the more we also explore our authentic alignment and explore our gifts and our talents and all of that, then everything else is like the leaves, right? It's our relationships, our businesses, our careers, our health. Those are all gonna, stay very nicely in harmony with that trunk of the tree. And we're always, as long as we have that base, we can always explore ourselves, and there's no end to the exploration. And that's
Mhm.
the beautiful part about just going back to our childlike days, or that inner child that we all have.
Yeah, yeah. And the tree, there's the tree of life and the school of life, and the tree kind of is a symbol of creation as well. And we are all creative. We all, people who say they aren't creative, they're creating things every day, including their our own reality. Everything that we believe is what we're capable of. We're creating that for ourselves. So the tree starts as a seed too, just like us, and grows up and branches out, which is exactly like we can do. You mentioned getting passions as something that you promote and foster. And I love to think about the ideas of the Greek concept of eudaimonia, and um the an ikigai, the Japanese concept of ikigai, and they have to do with contentment in our work. And in ikigai, it's really a lot about not just our work, but what we do for joy. That's a passion of ours, but is not for work. And so I love that you brought that up. If you in the school of life, you are bringing up a lot of things about um, passion and purpose, which we've talked about, and also about speaking. So, do you have anything coming up that anybody should know about specific to any of those ideas?
Yeah, I mean, that's the day-to-day work that I do. I think the best information that people can find is on my website, elonaloparicoaching.com. But what I like to do with speaking is just another vehicle for me to be able to share life experience, right? Whether it's personal or professional. So what I do in my community, I host speaking events that people can come in and share their vocation with the world, share their purpose with the world, and also add value based on the life experience that they've gained around whatever topics or whatever things that they're most passionate about sharing with others. So that's also on the website under the events page. So yeah, I think that's another way to be able to do that. And also, since we're on a podcast, I also have my podcast as well on the website, and I do the same thing there. I find that every conversation is like its own masterclass. I'm always learning and growing from every guest that comes on, and just creating a safe space to ask insightful questions, just like you're doing here, Lydia, with kind of just exploring things with no judgment, with no expectation that it should sound a certain way or not, right? Just speaking from the heart. And that's the same thing that I do on the podcast. So yeah, those are the two things that I would love to share with your audience as well.
Perfect. So ElonaLopariCoaching.com, and that's down in the show notes as well. So that is where you can find Elona. And I'm so happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful to have you here and appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for putting this together for people and having just allowing the space for others to share their experiences, because especially with the age of technology and AI and all of the world, the way we're heading, like evolving really fast in that way, we're always going to go back to experiences because we need connection. As you mentioned, this is how we've always learned and grew, prior to however many days of our survival all the way to the evolution that we're in today. So yeah, I think it's even more important to be able to create these spaces. So I thank you for doing the same and just connecting organically and naturally, and yeah, sharing wisdom and insights that might be of value to someone listening. So thank you
Mm,
for having me.
you are very welcome. Connection is, I think, a main topic. So thank you. I appreciate you. Well, that was Elona Lopari, and I loved getting a little bit of her vision on what it is to come from. She came from Albania and took care of her family, and now she is taking care of herself and the world. So that is a joyful path, if I've ever heard one. If you would like to get her insight and her help on having a more purpose-driven life and what your impact is on society and how to live that fulfilled life, then you can reach out to her. The address is down in the show notes. If you know somebody else who has a purpose-driven life now, who is lifting up others, but who first had to lift up themselves, and they may be you, maybe somebody in your community, maybe someone at work who lifts everybody every day, it may be someone in your church, or something else in your society. Anyone who you would like to recommend, please reach out to me. You can find me at the top, and especially also if you subscribe, or you can just mention something in the messages below. I appreciate you. And since you are here, if you like this, please hit like and gently push the subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any more content. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Ciao.